Dennis Bergkamp, one of the finest players to grace the world of football. I grew up surrounded by Arsenal fans, and when I really started getting into football around the turn of the century, it was near impossible to go one conversation without them mentioning this guy, among others, in some shape or form. Despite this, I was still but a young boy. I hadn't been paying attention for long enough to truly appreciate what this man did on a weekly basis. I've since gotten a better idea due to the magic of highlights, but the fact still remains. Although, by the time that I was all caught up, another Dutchman had entered the spotlight. This time, I paid full attention. And as a matter of fact, this guy was even tipped by some to be the like-for-like replacement for the aforementioned Dennis Bergkamp. And while Bergkamp is widely dubbed as the non-flying Dutchman due to his fear of flying, the man this video is about didn't seem to have the same reservations. You've probably guessed by now, this one's about none other than Robin van Persie. Really, not too long ago, this guy was just dripping with class, technique, really all the superlatives you can think of on the pitch, and he's undoubtedly one of the greatest Dutch players to ever live. Having said that, something we've all seemingly forgotten is that early in his career, his disciplinary problems not only burnt a few bridges, but also led some to completely write him off. We've got a lot to unpack today. And with that in mind, how good was Robin van Persie really? Yo, what's up friends, hope you're all doing well. Today we've got a video that I've been meaning to make for quite some time now. Just a quick reminder, if you like what you see, do be sure to lightly tap that like button as it massively helps the channel out, and if you really like what you see, go ahead and hit that subscribe button too for all future videos. Only if you want to though, no pressure. Okay, enough of that, sorry to keep you waiting, let's get right into it. Born in 1983 in Rotterdam, Netherlands, RVP was a bit of a problem child from the get-go. When it came to school, he just wasn't having it.
No, I'm not having this.
From a young age, he was constantly being kicked out of school for misbehaving and generally causing a ruckus. This character trait, it unfortunately didn't seem to go away, although his father didn't seem to mind. In fact, after a fortune teller told him that his son would go on to achieve great things, he more or less let him be. I mean, whether you believe in clairvoyancy or not, seeing how things eventually turned out, perhaps this wasn't such a bad call, because when it came to football, no one questioned his ability. The guy was sublime. Like any other Dutch prospect, many were labeling him as the next Johan Cruyff. Perhaps an overly ambitious label, but it was hard to argue against it at the time. By the time that Van Persie had entered the Dutch youth system, just about the entire country had adopted a coaching model popularized by Ajax. The TIPS model, the TIPS model, whatever you really want to call it. Technique, insight, personality, and speed. The latter two are more difficult to train, but the first two were hard-coded into him as well as several other young Dutch boys. In the case of RVP, through this training as well as his natural ability, he excelled. His wonderful left foot, positional awareness, on and off ball movement, and striking ability were impressive from very early on. Having spent the majority of his early youth honing his skills at SBV Excelsior, he ended up moving to Feyenoord at the age of 16 in 1999. The reasoning for this move? Attitude problems. He fell out with the coaching staff. At Feyenoord, he only went from strength to strength, improving year after year, a common theme in his career. Slowly but surely, he became more and more of a player as he got up there in age, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. At 17 years of age, he made his debut for the Feyenoord first team and immediately made an impression. So much so that he was awarded the Young Dutch Player of the Year award in the year of 2002. At this point in his career, he was playing as a left winger in a 4-3-3 system. Although he wasn't the fastest of players, he did possess good acceleration from a standing start, and all the same, his off-the-ball movement and exceptional timing of his runs more than made up for his shortcomings in the system that he was playing in. The future was looking bright for our man at this point. That is until he started falling out with his coach at the time, Bert van Marwijk. The reasoning for this might shock you. Attitude problems. I know. No one could have predicted this. Believe me, I'm in a state of disarray myself. His body language and general argumentative nature was causing several problems for the teenager and his coach, so much so that the rift between the two saw RVP being demoted to the reserve squad on occasion and getting comfortable with the bench more frequently than he would have wanted. By the end of the 2003-2004 season, Feyenoord had begun to offer RVP to teams across Europe. Only problem was, his reputation had preceded him in most cases. Several teams didn't want to take a gamble on a then 20-year-old with attitude problems. One such team was Manchester United. Sir Alex Ferguson even admitted to being interested in him back in 2001 and sending scouts to go out to watch him play. However, he was red carded in the game that they watched and showed what was deemed to be immature behavior. Not the best first impression. Although, realistically, I don't think Van Persie minded all that much. After all, he was about to join not only a team that had just gone invincible, but a team that he'd supported in his younger days. In steps Arsene Wenger to take the troublemaker off Feyenoord's hands. During his time in Feyenoord at the start of his career, he went on to make 78 appearances, scoring 21 and assisting 28. At the time that Van Persie was brought in, Arsenal had just come off arguably their greatest season in the Premier League era. Despite this, the squad was aging. And amongst the stars they had in their ranks, Dennis Bergkamp was the most senior of the regular starting lineup. Arsene Wenger's intentions from the beginning was to convert RVP from a left winger to a central forward in hopes that he would eventually replace Dennis Bergkamp in the long term as Thierry Henry's strike partner, playing in that slightly withdrawn inside forward role, towing the line between striker and number 10. He was signed for £2.75 million at the beginning of the 2004-05 season. And while his ability was unquestionable, his first few seasons at Arsenal was scuppered due to various aspects. For one, he was still getting used to the league. It happens. When you have to constantly butt heads with these guys each week, you probably deserve a bit of an adjustment period. His first 2 seasons were rather mild from a numbers perspective, scoring only 10 times in 50 appearances in the league. Secondly, his body was constantly letting him down. Between the years of 2004 and 2009, he missed over 60 games in the league due to injury, and even more surprisingly, he only played 115 games in the same time period. And above all else, his disciplinary problems were still as prevalent as ever. In his very first season with the club, he was sent off after receiving 2 yellow cards against Southampton. Having said all of that, when he did play, he was phenomenal. His touch, his movement, even his attitude added several dimensions to his game. The man was hungry. Adding on to that, he came up with some ridiculous strikes. I'd like to divert all of your attention to Exhibit A, Exhibit B, Exhibit C. You get the idea. In the same vein, on an international front, things were looking up. He was fortunate enough to be part of a Netherlands golden generation which consisted of some pretty heavy hitters. Wesley Sneijder, Ruud van Nistelrooy, Rafael van der Vaart, the list goes on. By the 2006 World Cup, he had earned a regular spot in the Dutch national team, although that hardly mattered. Oranje failed to even make it past the round of 16 in this tournament. History repeated itself 2 years later when they couldn't get past the first knockout round in the 2008 Euros. Despite this, Van Persie and this golden generation would soon have their day in the sun. Taking things back to England, by the time Thierry Henry left for Barcelona in 2007, RVP was all of a sudden Arsenal's first choice striker. There was also a bit of a drop in the quality of his striking partners on occasion. Although to be fair, Adebayor was a baller at the time and he was still around. But again, Van Persie's body just wasn't doing him any favors. An ankle injury in 2009 led to him missing over half of the 2009-2010 season of the Premier League. Despite this, even taking that absence into account, he still managed to score 9 goals in 16 appearances in the league. Not too bad, you know? Although, he did make his comeback on the back end of the season, and it was pretty good timing too. He had the chance to build up a bit of match fitness before an important trip to South Africa. Going into the 2010 World Cup, Van Persie was finally the leading man in the Netherlands attack. Although, remember this guy? Bert van Marwijk? He was now the Dutch national team coach. The same guy Van Persie fell out with early in his career. Despite this, they put their differences aside and worked together for a common goal. Throughout the tournament, he only scored 1 goal, but his contributions to the team were still elite. Again, his off-the-ball movement, hold-up play and link-up play were important to the Dutch setup. And along with some sublime performances from the team and Wesley Sneijder in particular, they reached the final. Unfortunately, we all know how that turned out. Alas, this would be the closest that this golden generation came to cup glory. In contrast, at club level, he was just about reaching his prime. In the 2010-2011 season, he scored 18 goals in 25 appearances, a career high. He still missed quite a few games through injury, but you got the sense that his fortunes were slowly changing. And if you did indeed have this suspicion, congrats, you were right. At 28 years of age, RVP was finally able to play a full Premier League season without an injury. Seriously, this was his first season without being injured, that's astounding. Even more so, he played in every single match, scoring 30 goals in 38 appearances, equaling a record set by Thierry Henry in 2004 for the highest number of goals scored by an Arsenal player in a single Premier League season, winning the Golden Boot in the process. Saying this guy was in form would be an understatement. Having said that, Arsenal as a whole weren't looking all that great. Despite Van Persie's stellar season, they finished in 3rd place, 19 points off eventual winners Manchester City. surely this won't do. And so, understandably, RVP did what any other reasonable player in that time period would do. He listened to the little boy within. No, not that one. The one he listened to screamed Man United. Having just lost out on the Premier League to Manchester City on goal difference, Sir Alex Ferguson was on a mission to right the ship in what would be his final season, a fact that was unknown to us all at the time. After several speculated that he would look to add stability to United's midfield, signing Van Persie for £24 million raised a fair few eyebrows. There were also growing concerns that the addition of the Dutchman would adversely affect the playing time of Wayne Rooney. Having said that, the two ended up forming a very fruitful relationship, combining for 38 goals in the league, with RVP contributing 26 of them in a season where he played the full 38 games once more. Back-to-back golden boots secured. And the cherry on the icing on the cake was this strike against Aston Villa on the day that United secured the league title, assisted by Wazza himself. I present you with Robin Van Persie, Premier League winner. But with the retirement of Sir Alex Ferguson, the party didn't last for that long. Yeah, 7th place. This is the face of 7th place.
I'm sorry to say again, it's Miser.
Van Persie in particular was apparently extremely bewildered upon hearing of Ferguson's retirement. According to Rio Ferdinand, amongst the United players in the dressing room, this announcement hit him the hardest. And the 2014 World Cup wasn't all that much better, with the Netherlands being knocked out in the semi-finals. Although the tournament was memorable for the Dutch for a few reasons, most notably for their opening game of the competition. Not only did they humiliate Spain, beating them 5-1, but RVP also provided us with the thumbnail of this video. Thanks for that, bro. Really appreciate it. Following on from this, after falling out with Louis van Gaal in 2015, the United manager at the time, RVP ended up leaving the club and joining Fenerbahce for £3.84 million. He went on to spend 3 seasons at the Turkish club before rejoining his boyhood club Feyenoord in 2017 for 2 seasons. And at the end of the 2018-2019 season, he retired from the game altogether. So, what do we have to say about Robin Van Persie? Depending on who you ask, opinions on this man can vary somewhat. But then again, if you're a top-class footballer and this isn't the case, you're probably doing something wrong. Despite this, I think it's universally accepted that he was an absolute baller in his day. The technique, the elegance, the finishing, the guy had it all. And even without considering his iconic 2014 World Cup goal, the guy was well deserving of his nickname. Salute to the Flying Dutchman. And there we have it. I'd be interested to hear all your thoughts on Robin Van Persie as a player. Do you think he made the right choice in joining United, considering the fact that City were in for him and that they won the title the season after Ferguson left? And even further to that, Arsenal fans, how do you feel about this guy? Feel free to comment your thoughts below. If you made it this far, thanks so much for watching. I appreciate you more than you know. And if you like this video, don't be shy, go ahead and hit that like button. And if you like this kind of content and you haven't already, why not go ahead and hit that subscribe button too? Because why not, right? Anyway, that's all from me today. Trust you're all having a great day and we'll have a great day further. Cheers, and I'll catch you in the next one.